You're listening to the Return Home podcast. Today we talk about nutrition and nurturing the body, mind, and soul, and I look forward to your comments.
Hello, Eva, and welcome back to our Ava Talks, the Return Home podcast series.
Hi, Alina. Nice to see you back.
We continue today our journey with another topic that hopefully is of interest to all those listening, because it is for us both. And that's the topic of nutrition and how we take care of ourselves through nutrition, how we actually nurture ourselves through our food, but not only the food we consume, but our daily habits and daily practices.
Yes, to me, nutrition is a really important topic. And it's almost as if we are beginning to summarize some of the chapters we started to unpack before. Because to me, nutrition is intimately connected to my body and my well-being in my body, for example. And to give you a personal story that we touched a little bit, in my growing up, I had challenges related to my colon. So nutrition is a subject that I had to put my attention to. Actually, in the times when I was chronically going through these different cycles, I had a medical doctor who was putting me on a diet. And so there were a lot of things I couldn't do. For example, I was supposed to only drink water, sparkling water, but put the bubbles, like squirrel the bubbles out of the water, because they wanted the ingredients of the sparkling water to keep that, but not the bubbles, because those would create discomfort in my body. Then I was mostly eating rice, pretty neutral, just with a little bit of salt. That's all there was. And my diet was really, I want to say, really boring. It got to an extreme where I just felt such a discomfort with the unpleasurable experience of food that I began a journey where I felt I want to add in food, I want to add in drinks, I want to add in something that I feel more curious about, that would give me more comfort and more aesthetic pleasure. And it took me on the journey to mindfully pick nutrition that I felt I could test out and then sense if my body would be able to digest it really well, because digesting was the issue. And interesting, at some point I noticed, if I let my body choose to find the right nutrition, there were times when I felt honey melon was something I really desired. So I started to eat honey melon, and I digested that really well, and it sat well with me. It was really comfortable. There were times when I felt, hummus is something I'm enjoying, and it was, I guess I was in the United States at some point, and especially in the vegan places, there were a lot of hummus, variation of hummus, and somehow that seemed to be appealing. I had never had hummus before, and I started to buy it, and it was a new taste, was interesting, and I realized I was eating it and my body really liked the hummus. So I started to go on this interesting journey of I want to say mindful eating, to really have my body decide before I cognitively did choose, this is what I want, or this is what my medical doctor is advising me to take. And the way I was making the decision was by body reaction. So my body would, for example, signal me a yes, and that way I was making the choice, this melon hummus, these type of crackers, and then there was avocado, and so I developed this idea of mindful eating, which is very subjective to my body type. So I didn't follow a certain diet that was given to me. It was much more a very subjective search. And I realized that with this change of nutrition, I felt a lot more healthy. I felt a lot more energy in my body. And I felt also emotionally much more balanced. So somehow, in an interesting way, this health crisis that brought me on a journey for nutrition invited me to mindful deciding what to eat, what to take into my body, and then have my body as a main authority kind of give me feedback of what is sitting right with me, so to speak, and what are the impacts. How do I feel emotionally? What are the thoughts that are coming connected to the diet? And also, how do I physically feel in terms of energy level? And I just realized that certain food was giving me different energy level, was giving me different vitality, and was also giving me a very much different emotional balancing state. And I thought, that's really interesting. So I've been on this nutrition journey for a long time. It started about, I guess, 20 years ago. And it didn't follow, as I said, certain diets. It was much more following my inner voice of picking what would be appealing to me. And I've been suggesting that to people who have had body challenges to take that as an additional idea to support well-being.
Yeah, I think you touched few very, very important points here, as starting with the restrictive diet caused by health issues, and then expanding this diet through checking in with how your body was feeling and how was processing that nutrition, that food that you were giving it to the body, and how mindfully you could choose what to eat and what to avoid, and also how this impacted your overall well-being, so the energy level and your emotional states. I think that this is, as you said, a journey that a lot of people go through, because at some point they have some health issues.
Yeah,
they are restricted by a very, very rigid diet sometimes, and they even begin to sometimes hate the food they are eating. Even up until that point, they maybe enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But through this mindfulness and this awareness on the body, and testing different kinds of foods, not eating it all at once and maybe doing something damaging for the body and for the whole well-being, but also introducing different nutrients that are congruent to the overall well-being, may be a way for some or all of us to gain more health, actually, because as one Chinese saying goes, that let food be your medicine. I mean, keep your health by eating right, the right and the appropriate food for you, may be a way.
Yeah, I love let food be your medicine. I love that. Thank you for that comment. I do believe that's my medicine. And I want to point out, it's a very subjective journey. You know, the rules I found out that were helpful subjective to me was less white sugar. I'm not able to completely let go of all white sugar, but I definitely pay attention to it. So the white poisons, I'm eating a lot less white sugar. I pay attention to that. I had a period of my life where I would not drink any alcohol at all. I periodically, for maybe a little celebration, I would have a little glass of wine or something, but I'm definitely paying attention to the poison of alcohol. So I almost don't drink that because I know it's not good for me. I'm paying attention to any fat that's from animal fat. And so I do cook more with olive oil rather than butter. Not saying I'm completely cutting it out, but I'm definitely reducing animal fat. Then the other criteria that I found out to be really helpful for my body was no meat. I'm not eating any meat. I've been a vegetarian for almost over a decade now, and I just noticed that that's a lot healthier for my body. I used to get body pain, bone pain, as a side effect of Lyme disease, and as I reduced animal fat and letting go of meat, and I do eat sometimes fish, but very rare, so almost no animal at all. That was just really helpful for my body. I was always testing out things and then sensing, oh, that's really good. So I'm tilting towards vegetarian, tentatively towards plant-based food. And that seems to be a good recipe for my body in terms of health, energy level, and emotional balance, and also good medicine for thoughts. So that's been my journey. And exercising and moving, using nutrition, nurturing ways of exercising my body, nurturing ways of moving my body was another layer to this self-discovery journey. And then I realized, I was talking to a friend who was a nutrition expert, and she said, the way you change your diet, the way you eat, is actually following some rules by tending to eat more basic metabolized food. Meaning, a lot of times we have it on the way you absorb it and metabolize it. A lot of times we tend to be too sour. So it's either way neutral or on the, is that the right word, basic?
It's acid and basic, I think it's.
Yeah, exactly. So it's neutral or to this side.
Or alkaline or something.
Exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So that's the tentative side that I'm tilting towards, and it seems, I mean, I haven't been sick. I had not had a flu in a long time. My immune system is pretty strong, and I'm exposed to, usually, not right now, but usually to a lot of people that may be sick and, catch different things at times. And I've been, even through the winter season, been really healthy throughout this whole time and feeling in good shape. And I'm going through different time zones, so I'm traveling and so there's time differences, and my body seemed to be really able to make good adjustments to the time zone differences, and that gave me a lot of proof that listening to my inner voice of the body and making good decisions to what nutrition to pick was a really good journey. So I went from authority, somebody told me this is what you're supposed to do, and that wasn't very helpful because it didn't fit my body type, to have my own inner decision. That really helped me subjectively to come to a good conclusion. And I heard people say, oh, once you get into the area of menopause, your weight will shift and change. And I'm in that period right now, and my weight is still the same. So I believe that's also probably a connection to that as well, because it's still from the inside making nutritional decisions.
Yeah, we discussed in our podcast about the return home to the body.
Yes.
How we can use some simple practices to train our awareness and start to live a more mindful connection to our body. And this is also the case with nutrition and how we nurture not only our body but our emotional body, our mental body, because we don't just ingest food as bread or sugar or something else.
Yeah.
It's a complex that is of tastes, of smells, of colors,
Yeah.
states how we perceive what we eat, because something 100% organic can look in a certain way that is not very appealing, and can cause us actually can cause our physical body more stress than sugar bite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. For me, I guess the full experience is actually touching all the resources, all the universal resources we've been touching upon already in the podcast in terms of returning home to all these different elements. If I think of nutrition, I think of having great company with me, have somebody where I share a meal with. So I nurture a good communication while I'm having a good meal. So I'm thinking about social interactions and a nurturing conversation while sharing a meal. I think in the preparation of it, of lots of sensory-based, detailed, aesthetic creations. So I like a lot of colors. For example, when I create a salad that I really enjoy, there's tomatoes in it, there's cucumber in it, there's different types of colors of salad in it. There may be a little bit of cheese, or the alternative of vegan cheese to it. And so I'm looking at have it a lot of colors, so it's entertaining also to my senses, to my eyes, and stimulating a lot of different flavors. I like to put on some music that I enjoy while I'm cooking. I like to, almost create a little ritual space so that I take some time in the cooking. So it's a whole procedure. And I like to decorate my table in a nice way. So it's appealing, it's inviting, it's nice. And so there are a lot of elements that I find in sharing a meal that have additional nurturing aspects to it. And then to me, it's something that's really complete. And then the other side is taking the time to really take a bite and taste the different flavors that I'm tasting, and looking at the colors that I can see. So really allowing some additional time to really enjoy not just the preparation, but also the taking in of the food. Because I believe if you create food with love, it tastes like love. And if you take it in like love, I think the way the food is processing in your body is with sending love to you. And I'm not saying that I'm always capable of doing it. I have those moments where I'm just putting something in and I'm eating. But what I'm saying is I'm becoming so much more aware that I want to do less of the just taking stuff in, and be more mindful and more kind to myself to create this whole space that is nurturing when I take nutrition in. Because my body is my temple, as we said in the early ones. And if I want to treat that as my temple, it comes with respect. It comes with timing. It comes with, decorating the whole house in a nice way. And whatever I put into my body is how I treat my body, how I honor my body. And I had to learn to do that. I wasn't there always. I really had to learn to treat my body also with nutrition in a friendly way. Befriend my body through befriending nutrition and being excited about that discovery. And that was a new journey for me. I wasn't much educated in nutrition, so I had to educate myself to myself.
It's a very interesting way how this connection to our body and our nutrients and the food that we eat and how we eat it creates a more mindful life for us. And also it extends gradually to our relationship, because as having a meal is actually a social interaction.
Yeah.
It's also creating mindfulness in that interaction. So in
Yeah.
that relationships, and in those relationships, and also creating a context which is very different than the context when you only eat processed food that is put in the microwave for 3 minutes or so, and then eat it while watching TV or something. So it's a complete different setup.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, there are two things that come to my mind. One is I heard that there's study been done that eating disorders dramatically drop when meals are shared in a relationship, are shared in company. Um, it increases when meals are taken in alone, isolated. That's why I actually find these times quite disturbing, because one of the delights I have personally is inviting somebody maybe for a Sunday brunch and have this really nice extended big table where you can eat from one to the next and extend the time and unfold a conversation. And I find that's something really nurturing on so many levels. I was really disturbed hearing one of my friends is one of the frontline people working. He's a paramedic and working in the emergency area, and they have such high stress right now that basically he's not, because of what needs to be done, but then also regulations that are on top, adding additional pressure. And he is telling me so many times he has no time to eat, and if he's starving, he's really hungry after hours because there's no way to take a break, and then he's just putting some food in, already knowing while he's doing it that it's not really anything good, but it's just this unconscious act. And it makes me really sad. So I'm like, okay, I have this big meal that I just created, and it's a really healthy meal with all these veggies and great stuff, and it tastes really good. Can I give you some extra of that, because I want to make sure that you're doing such great work and nurturing others with your presence, and I hope you can take some nurturing into yourself too, and that begins with food.
Yeah, and maybe now it's a good time for a lot of people to come back to old ways of cooking and
Yeah.
eating, and create new old habits
Yeah.
about uh, nutrition, and about creating bonds and relationships within their families, because a lot of people now are inside together with the families. And if in the past few years or months they were just eating separately at separate times, now they can join and eat together and be together at the same time at the same table, which is a very new thing for a lot of people, as I hear stories about people that have never spent so much time together in families in years maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that is a positive potential. I see that we remind ourselves of, if you wish, of good old days where the table in the kitchen or the table in the living room was the family community gathering, and then having these regular times where you would get together and share a meal together, which is breakfast, lunch, and then dinner. And it seems that that has come out of fashion in our very busy times. And I do highly recommend at least to, make a little gathering, a family community gathering for one core meal. And depending on what ages on the family, you could maybe rotate and say that, maybe there's a 15-year-old, like, okay, now it's your turn. And you are the master of our meal of the family. You're in charge, and you can do anything that you desire to feed us. And if you do it, then our job is to enjoy whatever we get presented. So we're not going to complain. maybe we can give recommendations of what we would like next time in addition, or but that you also take charge and maybe take turns, but really making an effort to say, let's meet at a specific time at the shared table and share a meal together, and everybody can take turns of preparing something interesting. And if somebody's not so trained yet, then I guess a good guideline could be, whatever you bring, we're going to appreciate that you made an effort, and we will take it in as a nice effort, and there's always room for improvement, because sometimes people get frustrated when they give it a go and then it's not good enough. So there's all these unhelpful, not very nurturing comments. So my guideline would be, if somebody is doing something new, give them an appreciative feedback for the try, and then we can help each other to improve the skills, so that it's that we can all take turns. But sharing a meal that is delicious, and sharing the space together where we can communicate and share what's happening for us, is a really good ritual to do. And it used to be like that, and I think we've forgotten about those ritual times, and it's something very helpful to remember. It's not outdated in my book. I think this is something really nurturing to do on many levels. So I highly recommend it.
Yes, as it nurtures not only our need for social interaction, but also for good energy and good spirits and good states. And we learn by practicing this and turning them into habits, that our actually food quantity that we eat decreases significantly. Even
Sure.
if it appears to be different, we eat, as you said, more and tend to gain a lot more weight when we eat alone than when we eat together with other people. It's also a way of compensating different other aspects of our lives.
Yeah, I think the two differences are, if I'm mindlessly eating, if I'm just taking food in fast, I'm not paying attention to when is enough enough. That comes with, I'm conscious of, now I'm feeling full, and that's where I can stop. And the more I'm alone, I'm just doing it without paying attention to it. And I think the second piece is, food can sometimes be a method of numbing. I'm not feeling very good about myself emotionally or something, and then I start numbing and putting food in. That is more a way of addictively using food to fill in a void. And the method I'm really talking about is much more, my body knows what it enjoys and what would be really enjoyable and nurturing. And that comes with a different attitude, that comes with a different consciousness. I'm more aware. And it also comes with slowness. I guess what I want to point out is, when I'm eating this way, when I'm really aware of those elements, that I'm doing it a lot more slow. Give you an example. Not right now, but when I'm in a restaurant, I may open the menu and I look through the menu. Maybe my one side of me may say, oh, French fries, I want to get French fries. I love French fries. And that may be a very fast pick. And there may be times when I say, I just want these French fries, for God's sake. I know my body doesn't feel happy with it afterwards, but I'm going to go for it for now. So I'm making this conscious decision maybe to pick something that's not totally great for me, but I enjoy it for that moment. But if I make a more mindful pick from a menu, I usually scan the whole thing and look, and then I usually get, if I just listen internally, I usually get a body feedback that will actually tell me, yes, that is something that I can digest today really, really well. We just have to pay attention to it. Everybody has those signals. If we allow to take from the menu the signal to the body in and cultivate listening to our yes and no signals. I know French fries is a no signal for me on a body level, but I love them. So sometimes it's feeding another aspect of me. So I'm willing to pay the price if you wish. But if I do mindful eating, I would probably go for a choice that says hummus, salad, vegetables. And I know when I take it in that my body feels vital and happy and alert and just satisfied. And that's a better way of fueling my body and actually really honoring as a temple. And yeah, so those would be some practical ideas how to listen.
After all, it's all in the balance and keeping the balance, the proper balance
Yes.
between eating the right food at the right time in the right context, so to speak, and the way we feel within our bodies. How healthy do we feel emotionally, physically, in all aspects of our being. And if that means eating maybe French fries sometimes, it's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if that means drinking smoothies for a month, that may be also okay. But as long as we are mindfully doing that and we know what we're doing and
Yeah.
we are doing it for, I think that may be a way.
Yeah, I think you stated that so beautifully. There are two practical aspects for me. One is that every extreme makes things rigid. If I say, oh, only plant-based food, if that's my direction, that may be a little bit too extreme for me, because there may be times when I really enjoy to eat a piece of cheese or eat an egg for now. But if I allow myself to say I'm tilting towards that direction, then for me personally, that's a better way to make a choice and to stay on track. So I'm not speaking for other people. For other people, having one big plan and follow the plan, that may be the right direction. For me personally, it's easier for me to say I'm tilting this direction, and that's fine. And that also includes sometimes I may eat chocolate, even though it's not so good for me and it's white sugar. Sometimes I drink a glass of wine because I enjoy the atmosphere and it's cultivating something else for me, even though I may know a glass of wine doesn't sit fully perfectly in my body. I may tilt to the French fries. And when I do that, and I think that's the critical point, I do it with permission. So I say, now that was my choice. And it's okay that I made the choice, and I'm not going to punish myself for it. I'm just going to be with it to friendly say, hey, there's a part of you that really wanted some French fries today. And that doesn't mean that I will continue to eat French fries every day. It's just this one time, and then I can let it go again. So I find also to befriendedly looking at the parts that have been choosing these things that may not be great at all times. That's another element to being nutritionist and the way of self-talking or self-assessing. And I find a friendly self-assessment is rounding up the nutrition choice in terms of that being nurturing to the larger system. So I guess that's the last comment I want to make to that.
Great comment. Yeah, thank you very much, Eva, for your presence today and for everything that you shared with us. And we'll definitely see you for our next time together.
Yes. Thank you for asking the questions. And thank you so much for the Chinese expression. I loved that you said that food is our medicine. That's really very helpful. I agree.